Hey everybody, welcome back for part 2 of the wedding week plan with me. So if you want to see how the base of this kit and all of the foil was laid out, you want to go back one video on my channel and watch part 1 of wedding week. So I lay down the kit and all of the foil and everything in that video, and I explain where everything's from. This is part 2, so we're going to do the day by day in just a few minutes. But just to recap, the kit is from Cinderella Paper. It's called I Do. It's that lovely kittenish Jess art that had a great diversity of people portrayed in it, so I love that. Love the full box in the upper left-hand corner because it looks like my husband and I included obviously the kit and all of the full boxes. And I also included some HP Sprocket photos because we had gotten our photos back by the time that I filmed this base. So I included lots of photos of us together. And then the foil is a combination of the Twinkle foil bundle in mixed metal, silver, and gold from Scribble Prints Co., the custom wedding overlay sheet from Planet Hannah, and then these really beautiful overlay boxes, from Alicia Craft that have the couples. Oh no, my cat's here. My cat often insists on walking all over my planner because it is the only thing that I look at probably more often than her, and she does not appreciate that. So that was what that interruption was. But yes, on the sidebar, I am going to use the Mr. and Mrs. Planet Hannah box eventually, but it does have both of our last names on it because I hyphenated my last name, so I can't include that here on the screen. But you'll also see the SPC wedding sheet, the Planet Hannah custom event sheet, and like I already mentioned, the Twinkle foil bundle and the J'adore planning wedding countdown that I've been using. So in the sidebar for the overlay, I use the Planet Hannah date wedding overlay, and then I use the rings on Tuesday. You'll see the Alicia Craft couple on Wednesday, the Forever Yours from Planet Hannah on Thursday, and then the couple from Alicia Craft again on Friday. The San Clemente overlay from Planet Hannah on the bottom of Friday, I Do from Planet Hannah on the top of Saturday, and then another Alicia Craft couple on the bottom of Saturday, and then our song lyrics from the custom Planet Hannah wedding sheet on Sunday, so the song lyrics from our first dance, so from Such Great Heights. I'm working on the sidebar right now. I brought in a custom script from Carly Plans for my habit tracker, and then I used the Scribble Prints Co. We're Married script from the wedding sheet and the Papershire couple, that one that I didn't use on Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, I did film that first, but I edited all of this so that will still go Monday through Sunday the regular way. But I did film Saturday first and then Friday right after that because I wanted to make sure I had my favorite labels from the kit available for those 2 most important days. Not much happened the other 5 days of this week, so I didn't really care so much what labels got used those days, but I wanted to make sure I had my favorite patterns, which in this kit were like the cherry blossoms or whatever they're supposed to be. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be cherry blossoms, but like the blossom pattern and the leaf pattern. I wanted to make sure that I used as much of that on Saturday as possible. I had to remove everything I just did on Monday because I forgot my wedding countdown. So let's go ahead and go through the day by day. So on Monday, of course, it was 5 days until our wedding, so that sticker is from J'adore Plans. Almost everything in this week is either from Scribble Prints Co. from the foil bundle, or it's from Once More with Love, or it's from Planet Hannah. So I'm not going to probably say every single sticker where it's from, because you can probably figure out from the style where the sticker's from. And then obviously like those couples are all from Papershire. So let's just get that out of the way. But on Monday, I was up early for some reason. I think it was just the start of wedding week, and I was on winter break this week, which is part of the reason that we decided to get married in January, because it was either that or get married during summer break, because I'm a college professor, and it's really expensive to get married in the summertime here. And also summertime's my least favorite season. I think both of our least favorite seasons. So it was either get married in the summer or get married during winter break. So we opted for winter break. But I was up at like 6 this morning, even though I didn't have to be. So I went ahead and finally wrote all of my bridesmaid cards. So I got these cute thank you cards from an Etsy shop called, I think it's called Your New Best Friend Sam. And so those were for each of my bridesmaids. So I went ahead and wrote those finally. to accompany their little gifts, which I got them some travel jewelry cases from a shop called Rosie Stone Inc., I think was the name of it. That's also on Etsy. So I got those customized with their names on them. I also got one for myself while I was at it, because why not? I wanted a travel jewelry case. And then also on Monday, I did laundry because obviously we had a big week up ahead, and so I wanted to get the laundry out of the way. And then the big wedding task for this day was packing up all of the things that we needed to bring to the venue, and then the things that we needed to bring to the hotel with us as well. So I packed up all of our decorations, and then all of our accessories and like jewelry and ties for the groomsmen and all of these things, and the flowers. So we used fake flowers, or silk flowers to make it sound better. So that meant that I needed to kind of portion those out depending on who in our party got them. So I had boxes that were specifically for me and for my bridesmaids, and then boxes that were specifically for my husband and his groom's party. And then there were boxes specifically for the venue with all of the like guest book and picture frames and all of those things that they were going to set up for us. So that's what I did on Monday. And then after my husband was done with work this day, because he was working this week, because he does not have, a winter break like a semester system, we practiced our first dance this evening. So that was cute. And then I gave myself a pedicure with the same nail polish that I would start my wedding manicure with the next day. So I used Good as Gold by Essie, which is a metallic, and it turned out really pretty. And then there was a thunderstorm this evening. So this was a very stormy week. It was like clear for Tuesday through Friday. And then of course the next storm rolled in on our wedding day. We already talked about that in the base of this kit, or the base of this week in the previous video. Tuesday was of course 4 days till the wedding, and it was really stormy on Tuesday. I forgot about that. So I marked that with a little cloud sticker. I think those are from either Pipsticks or from Mrs. Grossman's. I can't remember. And then this was the day where our venue did something that kind of made me angry. They decided to start renovations without telling us. And the way that they did that this day was that they switched out the chandeliers in the reception hall that I really loved. The original ones were like these kind of like antique, spooky looking ones. I guess some people on Yelp didn't like them. That was mentioned in a review, which was kind of weird. For these like really modern ones that like the minimalist trend that I can't stand. Sorry if you like that, I just can't stand it. And they never communicated to us that they were going to do any sort of renovations. And it just really frustrated me that they decided to start them 4 days before our wedding. I get that like I don't own the place and it's not my decision, but we literally had a meeting with them 6 days before this time. So the fact that I found out they were doing renovations from their Instagram page after they already started happening was upsetting to me. So that's what I was upset about this day. I finished up my syllabi for spring 2023 semester and sent those in. I think I finished them the previous week, but I sent them in for sure this day and let them know that, hey, I'm getting married this weekend. I'm going to be gone next week. So that's why I'm sending these in early. And also, if it's an emergency, contact me. If you don't, I'll get back to you when I come back from my honeymoon. Our student assistant who works in the English department was so sweet. She's like, congratulations on this new step in life. I'm like, you're so sweet. I still haven't met our student assistants because they're like never in the office at the same time that I am. So I've never met them. We have 2 student assistants. Never met them, but that's obviously because they don't work 40 hours a week, because student assistants can only work like max 20. So anyway, sent in my syllabi, did a little workout on Tuesday, and then I played with the cat. So that Play with Evie script is from Carly Plans, and I think that cat sticker is from Plan a Hannah. And then we also practiced our first dance this evening, so that was good. That was a lot of fun. I miss dance practice. It was stressful when we were leading up to the wedding, but now I feel like we should just dance for the fun of it. That could be cool. Sorry, I have a little bit of a post-nasal drip cough still. We'll talk about that in a few weeks, why I have that. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know what's going on. And then at the end of Tuesday, I watched Tasting History and Mythical Kitchen. We probably watched that together. Wednesday was 3 days till the wedding. And my husband did go to the office to work this day. We were distancing ourselves from people as much as possible, but he was still required to go into the office Only one day this week because the day before there was such a big storm that they were like, we don't need you to come in. Just you can work from home. Nobody's coming in. But he did go to the office on Wednesday. And then I'm going to mark that I was being a crybaby because I was looking at the forecast and it was probably almost definitely going to rain. And the chandelier thing was still bothering me. So I was trying to get the crying out of my system before the weekend. So that's kind of like why I think it was good that I was almost trying to just like let all the crying out this day. This was a really frustrating day for no reason other than just things totally out of my control. You'll notice I wasn't doing like a ton of stuff for the wedding this week because like everything was pretty much done. I did almost everything I possibly could do. But it was just like last minute things that people were bringing up, or like the weather that I can't control, or the fact that my venue did not communicate to me at all that they were going to be doing renovations. Just stuff like that there was no way I could have ever anticipated that. And so really these last few days before I got married, like I didn't have much left to do. Like right here, I'm marking that I was filming my Q1 flip through for my 2022 planner. Like I had time, especially because like I wasn't working this week other than finishing my new syllabus. I had time to like do stuff that wasn't wedding related. We didn't leave stuff till the last minute. So, but I was still super stressed. Oh, that's how I roll. I was working on finishing my vows at this point. So I'm going to put in the Right Vows script from Scribble Prints Co. And then I'm also going to put in the Right Vows script at the bottom of the day from Once More with Love. So it's going to be a little repetitive, but bear with me. Because in the middle of the day, I wrote Right Vows because I was trying to get them down to a certain time limit to match up with what my husband said his vows were. So that's what I was working on earlier in the day. And then here I'm marking that I steamed my dress and my veil and the ribbons for the bouquets. So the ribbons for the bouquets steamed really well. I think I only steamed mine though. I should have done the bridesmaid bouquets ones too, but I just didn't have time, I guess, or I forgot. And then my dress steamed really well. I only steamed like the first layer of tulle. If you want to see my dress, you can go to my Instagram and click on, you're on your phone, open up my wedding highlight. There's some pictures where you can see my dress there. So it did have like, I want to say like 3 layers of regular tulle and then a layer of glitter tulle and then the lining. But I learned to only steam the top layer of tulle. So that's what I did and it looked perfectly fine. That dress was made of tulle that did not wrinkle very well. My veil was made of like a weird thicker tulle. And so I don't think I got the wrinkles out and it didn't look exactly how I dreamed it would. So, oh well. But yeah, I spent a lot of time steaming things this day. Then I did a Target run. I did a Target drive-up order. I don't remember what I picked up, but I did a Target drive-up order. And then I'm not going to explain why there is a grumpy crying munchkin at the bottom of Wednesday, but there were just some things going on where I was like, people are so rude. And it was related to the wedding. If you're watching this and you know me, it wasn't you. Trust me, it was not you. It was other people who were just like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, so I'm just not even going to try, but it really upset me. So there was that. And then the Right Vows sticker from Once More with Love is to mark that I wrote down my vows physically in my vow book at this point because they were done. All the other times I was working on my vows before this point, it was typing them up on the computer and editing them, but I wrote them in the book on this Wednesday evening. Thursday was 2 days till the wedding, and you'll notice here especially, like, I'm not doing anything related to the wedding at this point other than like taking care of myself and like painting my nails and packing my luggage. So I paid my Bank of America credit card this day. I paid that off. And then I packed up my luggage. So everything I would need to wear over the weekend, I packed that up. And then, oh, this was cute. Our Airbnb in Maui decided to cancel on us this day. So that was another example of just like we were doing everything right leading up to the wedding. We were working ahead of time. Everything was done. And then people just decided to throw wrenches like in the works. Not even in the works. They just decided to throw wrenches at us. That's how it felt. So yeah, we had a Airbnb booked in Wailuku, I think, on Maui. And they just flat up canceled. And so then my husband had to get, because my husband had booked it, so he had to get on the phone with Airbnb because they were going to reimburse us to book another place at the last minute. They were going to pay the cost of the difference because obviously booking something like a week before was going to be more expensive. So then we got a new place in Kihei. And then the Airbnb owner was weird. Like, he kept messaging and texting my husband to say, like, it's not my fault. Airbnb canceled it. Like, I have another property if you want to stay there. And we're like, dude, no, we already found a way better place that would have originally been more expensive. But because Airbnb was helping us out, it cost the same. So anyway, that was incredibly stressful and unappreciated. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, getting your honeymoon Airbnb canceled 2 days before your wedding is not a fun time. Then I marked that my family arrived, so I didn't see them this day, but they all drove down from Northern California to wherever they were staying in a Verbo in San Clemente, and my brother was coming in from the East Coast, but I think he had been traveling around like Arizona or something as well. But anyway, all of them arrived except for 2 of my brothers who were flying in on Friday. Yeah, one of my brothers, there was a whole last minute situation. I'm not going to get into it, but he ended up flying down on Friday from Northern California. And then another one of my brothers, he recently just moved to Colorado, like literally a week before this, because he's starting a graduate program. So he flew in Friday night. He wasn't able to make it to our rehearsal dinner, but that's okay. Then I did my eyebrows, of course, and we had a late night phone call with our photographer to kind of check in on how everything was doing and what our plan was for the rain and all of that. And it was so funny because she was like, so I bought these clear umbrellas on Amazon. And I'm like, yep, I did the same thing 1 week ago. So we had lots of clear umbrellas. At the end of Thursday, I watched Mythical Kitchen on YouTube and I finished my wedding manicure. So I did my own nails for my wedding. I originally thought that I was going to go get them done, but then as we got closer to the wedding, I'm like, I'm just going to do them myself because COVID was not going away anytime soon. And I was really trying hard not to get COVID. And so I just did my own nails. So it took me, I figured out a strategy. They turned out really nice this week. Like, it's the nicest I've ever done my nails. But I figured out a strategy to do the base coat on like Tuesday, the first coat of polish on Wednesday, second coat of polish on Thursday, like in the morning. And then I only marked finishing the wedding manicure because I didn't want to put in like 4 different manicure stickers. But yeah, I put the top coat on Thursday night, and I think my nails turned out really nice. I recently redid them for a wedding photo shoot, like a makeup photo shoot that we did. They did not turn out as nice. So I did really well this particular week. All right, so now we get into the real fun. Here's where we get into Friday and Saturday. So on Friday, I'm just going to walk you through this. It took me a long time to set this up just because the extender goes horizontally. But of course, it was 1 day till the wedding. And in the left-hand side, that's where the day actually starts. So I'm going to mark that we had cuddles and coffee. We were just like all cuddly because it was our wedding weekend. And I think Nathan made me coffee. I make coffee at home every morning, but he, I think, offered to do that for me this day. Then we spent a lot of time packing up the car before we got dressed up and ready to go to our rehearsal. So we had lots of stuff to pack up. Like I mentioned, all of the faux flowers, all like the seating chart and all our clothing and all of the decorations that needed to go to the venue. We didn't have like that many decorations, but once you have to pack it all up into the car, it's a lot of stuff. And then I had my bridesmaid gifts and all of that stuff too. So we spent like probably an hour packing the car. And then we drove down to San Clemente, which takes, on the weekends, it takes like an hour. On a Friday morning, it took like 30, 40 minutes. So this is especially where I'm going to start pulling in my Plannahannah custom scripts from her custom event sheet. So we drove down to San Clemente, and then we did our decor drop-off with our venue. So I have some balloons from Papershire, even though we did not have balloons at our wedding. I mean, who has balloons at their wedding, actually? If you did, I don't judge you. I just didn't see the point of balloons at a wedding. But, you know, yeah, we unloaded all of our boxes right before our rehearsal. I went over it with the coordinator and her assistant so that they knew where stuff was supposed to go. And then also at the last minute, I did have to choose a wedding arch. They had 2 arches for an indoor ceremony. Luckily, we got married inside because the plan was to get married outside. Please don't jump on my planner, cat. We were planning to get married outside. They had a beautiful garden ceremony set up, but it poured rain. It was not going to happen. So they had me pick out an arch. So I picked out an arch for them to put the bouquets that were originally going to go to the ceremony site. They had like these sconces on the ceremony site, and I had bouquets for those. But instead, they ended up using twine to attach those to the arch. So it could have turned out prettier if I had had more of a decoration plan, but I didn't invest a lot in ceremony decorations because I figured, oh, we don't need them. The ceremony site's so beautiful on its own. But if I had known we were going to get married inside, I would have got more stuff, but it's fine. Our ceremony was beautiful because of the people involved with it, so that's the important part. And then we had our rehearsal, so I used the rehearsal sticker. I just put that on the overlay because it's a opaque sticker, so it would show up just fine. That's from Once More with Love. I think everyone was there except for my bridesmaid Taylor, so that's what I'm gonna mark right now. We weren't able to schedule our rehearsal until a lot closer to the wedding date, and she had already booked her flight at this point, so she showed up like right after the rehearsal ended, which was completely fine. It's walking into a room. Really, it was more important to me that like my brother, who was doing a reading, was there so that he knew what was going on, and also just like so that everybody knew who they were partnered up with as far as the wedding party goes. It was a pretty quick rehearsal, not gonna lie. It was at like 12:30 and our rehearsal dinner wasn't till like 5. I think it's because they had a wedding this night at the venue, so like they can't do a rehearsal in the evening. So it was fine. But yeah, then I marked that Taylor arrived after the rehearsal was done. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of grumpy during the rehearsal. Like my coordinator was like, it's gonna rain, but it's okay. That means good luck. And I was just kind of like this close to rolling my eyes because I'm like, who actually wants rain on their wedding day? I feel like we say these things to make ourselves feel better, but like, is it actually good luck to have rain on your wedding day? Probably not. Like, so people just kept trying to say things to me this day to make me feel better, and I appreciate that. But I feel like I was holding a lot of stuff in because people just wanted me to feel better, and like that's why I kind of ended up having an anxiety attack the morning of my wedding, is that I was holding a lot of stuff in. Anyway, after Taylor arrived, we decided to go to this place called Bloom's Irish Pub that's near our venue. So we went with Taylor and Henry, the best man, and everyone from the groom's party came with us, including one of the ladies on my husband's side, her boyfriend. We were meeting him for the first time because they flew in from Washington, which was really nice to meet everybody's significant others. Everyone on my husband's side is with somebody at this point, like living with somebody, which is really cool and very cute. I already knew the best man's girlfriend because she went to grad school with my husband as well as the best man. But I hadn't met my husband's high school friends' partners at this point. So that was really cool to hang out with everybody. And then the reason we did that is we couldn't check into the Hampton Inn until like 3 o'clock, which was kind of ridiculous, but whatever. So we checked in and I marked that with a bouquet because I needed to set up or fluff out all of the silk bouquets to get them ready for the next day because they had just been sitting in a box. So I did that. And then once we checked in and unpacked everything, it was pretty much time to leave for our rehearsal dinner. So our rehearsal dinner was in Dana Point. So I marked that. And I just put in the rehearsal dinner script from Once More with Love because I figured I'm going to remember where it was. It was outdoors on the patio at What a Dish Cafe in Dana Point. So that was about like 10 minutes away from our venue. So that was really nice. One of the people, or a couple of the people who are basically family to Nathan, kind of like his surrogate or adopted grandfather, and the person who would basically be Nathan's adopted grandmother. She's no longer with us, unfortunately. But her daughter was there as well, and she gave us these 2 bottles of wine as an additional wedding gift, one to open at our 10-year anniversary and one to open at our 20-year anniversary. So that was really sweet. I love sentimental gifts like that. And, we had kind of a moment remembering Sharon, and that was, really sweet. We were kind of crying about that, Sharon's husband and her daughter, because she died a few years ago, and I imagine it's hard for that family to be celebrating these events now with her gone. So anyway, we had that moment. And then our rehearsal dinner was really casual. My sister will tell you that the highlight was the mushroom pastry appetizer. That was really good. That was probably the best thing I ate all weekend. And then my parents both gave kind of impromptu speeches. My dad was talking about, how he's glad to have Nathan in our lives and how, he can, he said something about like, he can tell why Nathan's so great because like he had finally met his parents and he liked them. So that was good. And then my mom was saying some nice things as well about us as a couple. So really appreciate their support, obviously. Very impromptu, casual attitude at the rehearsal dinner. I gave my bridesmaids their gifts, so I marked wedding party gifts, and then we went back to the hotel. So we had given Taylor a ride because she was staying in the hotel next door to us. And so we dropped her off at her hotel, and we went back to ours, and we practiced our first dance in the hotel room, which was really fun because we had full-length mirrors in there, so we could kind of see what we were doing. And I was still wearing my rehearsal dinner dress, which was like a A-line cocktail dress, so it was fun to spin around in that. And I think we aced the first dance this evening. So that was just really fun and exciting to do. I'm glad we had more of a first dance routine because it was just fun to practice that and like see our progress and see how we got better over time. I cleaned my engagement ring that evening, of course, and then I wrote my letter to my husband while he was taking a shower. Basically, I took everything that wouldn't fit into my vows, and that was more of a love story thing than like an actual vow, and I put that in a card that I gave him on the wedding day. And then finally, at the end of Friday, I marked that I got no sleep, unfortunately, because for some reason the hotel did not see our note on our reservation that we were the wedding couple for the weekend. So they put us on like the first floor of the hotel, and the person above us was pacing around the entire evening. Like I said, there was a wedding the night before us. So I feel like maybe some really drunk people were in the hotel. I don't really know what was going on, but there was someone just pacing around constantly and loudly, like heavy footfalls, and I just could not fall asleep. The other problem probably is that I had coffee at the pub at 3:00 earlier that day, which means that I was not going to go to sleep that night, unfortunately. So it was just kind of a mess. But we even called the front desk at one point to be like, hey, can you let the person above us know that like they're being really loud and we're getting married tomorrow? Like, we were definitely complaining a little bit more than we normally would, but it's like, we're getting married tomorrow. We kind of need to go to sleep right now. It was like 2 a.m. and this person was making so much noise. So yeah, unfortunately, I was totally sleep deprived on my wedding day. And there were some other things going on with me as well. I'm not going to go into it again, but if you want to hear more about that, you can go back to part 1 of the plan with me to hear about all of that. So yeah, the first thing I marked on Saturday was that I had an anxiety attack. I woke up and I was in pain and I was sleep deprived and I was sad about the rain. And so I just had to get it all out of my system. I just cried it all out, and Nathan was helping me out with getting breakfast and all of that. So, got it out of my system. That was good. And then we could proceed with the rest of the day. So, not ideal to have an anxiety attack the morning of your wedding, but at least it wasn't about who I was marrying. I had no doubts about the marriage. It was just all of the things going wrong with the silly event that we were putting on. Then I marked hair and makeup. So, like I said, I worked with a lady named Paru to get my hair and makeup done. Then the photographers showed up and I got into my dress and we did some photos in our hotel room with my bridesmaids and my parents. And I read my letter from Nathan because he did the same thing that I did and wrote a card to me to open the morning of the wedding. And then I marked that it was pouring rain because as the afternoon went on, it was just the rain was pouring and pouring and pouring and getting worse than it was in the morning. So that was great. Oh well. But we did do our first look. We did our first look on the back patio of our reception hall. That was the plan the whole time. It did unfortunately kind of turn into a wind tunnel because of the layout of the patio, and it wasn't just raining, it was like really windy because we were on the coast. But our first look was so emotional. The photographer had me walk down like the length of the patio, and Nathan was standing at the end of it. And the second I went out the door and I saw the back of his head and the back of his suit, I was just like so emotional. And then she had me give him a hug from behind before he could look at me. And we were just like hugging I was just hugging him and we were crying. And then he was like, "Can I look?" He was so adorable. I have an adorable husband. I'm just going to brag on that for a second. He's like, "Can I turn around now?" And the photographer's like, "Yeah." And he saw my dress for the first time. And oh, he's so cute. So we had an emotional moment there and got some photos. I think those are some of my favorite photos from the day. That's the photo on the sidebar, on the open part of the extender with the date over it. That's me giving him a hug for our first look. And then we did some wedding party photos. So we did our separate wedding parties, and we also took some photos together right up to the ceremony time. So our coordinator honestly had to come get us at some point and be like, "Okay, we got to line up for ceremony." Our videographer, so I got a videographer who just gave us all the raw footage, and some of the stuff he got before the ceremony is so funny. Like one of the groomsmen had to have the vents cut on his suit, and my husband's friend Megan pulled out a knife from her pocket in her dress. Like she got a bridesmaid's dress, but she wasn't a bridesmaid. She was a groom's folk. So just stuff like that is like why I'm so glad I have all of the raw footage. So that was going on before the ceremony. And then of course we all walked down the aisle. I explained all of the details of that in part 1 of this plan with me. We cried lots of happy tears and we read our personal vows, and Nathan's were so sweet and sincere. We each kind of touched on similar things in our vows, even though we didn't mean to. So things like being a good cat parent, and how Nathan's my personal chef, and just how we're so confident in making these vows to each other because we've gone through so much together over the last 10 years. And the hardest part of our relationship was definitely when we were long distance for 4 years. As soon as we moved in together, as soon as we agreed to marry each other, more recently, like our lives have been, like our relationship's just been so much easier now that we're actually together in the same place. And so I feel like our vows really captured that. I had kind of like a joke framing my personal vows where like I started off with like, there's a lot of reasons I want to marry you, but the biggest one is like, I think you're going to be a super adorable old person one day. And I got a lot of laughs out of that. So I'm pretty proud of that one, not going to lie. And then at the end of my vows, I kind of brought that joke back where I was like, in other words, while we turn into adorable old people together. So yeah, because like I said, my husband's adorable. He's going to be like the most adorable old man one day. Like he just is. Like he's going to probably have like a garden and like be cooking, and just he's going to be so cute. Then we exchanged our rings, of course. So our officiant had like lots of different scripts for the ring exchange, and we picked the one that felt the most like us. And then we were declared husband and wife. So that was so cute. We had other things in our ceremony as well. Like we had Nathan's sister and one of my brothers do a reading, but you can hear more about that in the previous video. And then we walked out to Jack Johnson's Do You Remember? One of the reasons I chose that is that, first of all, talking about how over 10 years have gone by, and so over 10 years have gone by for us. Also, when I first met Nathan, one of the songs he used to play on the guitar like all the time for our friends was Jack Johnson's Better Together. So I just associate Jack Johnson with my husband, as well as Death Cab for Cutie, which is what leads into our first dance, because we did our first dance to a cover of a Postal Service song, Such Great Heights, which is, if you don't know it, Ben Gibbard is both Death Cab for Cutie and the Postal Service, just with different band members. So that's the deeper meaning behind why I chose the recessional song that I did and the first dance song that I did, because I just associate my husband with Jack Johnson and Ben Gibbard. In between being declared husband and wife and our first dance, though, of course, we were taking lots of photos. The cocktail hour was going on. We did have 2 signature cocktails named after our cat. So we had the Genevieve, which I can't remember exactly what was in there, but of course, gin was like the main alcohol. And I think there was like either lime or lemon. There had to be like a last minute change to the recipe for that because people were like, this is too alcoholic. So they had to add like lemonade or maybe a simple syrup. I don't remember. So we had the Genevieve, and then we also had the Clumsy Calico, which I think a lot of people agreed would get you drunk really fast. It was a very intense drink. I think it had bitters, cynar, which is like I forget what type of liquor, and it had a lot in it. If I can remember, I'll put it up on the screen what the exact recipes were. But those were our two signature cocktails. And then we were taking photos with our families, of course. We had to do those inside, so they didn't turn out exactly the way that I wanted because I would have preferred them be outside, but we could not get everybody. We had like 17 people involved in family photos. There was no way. So we had to do those indoors. So that took probably like 20 minutes. It was nice having it indoors because then we could actually hear our cocktail hour playlist that we came up with. It had a lot of Decemberists and like Civil Wars and a couple Taylor Swift songs and a couple like Sarah Jarosz and other artists that my husband likes listening to. So it was nice to hear our cocktail hour playlist. And then we did our grand entrance to Levitating by Dua Lipa. I didn't realize that song was by Dua Lipa until we went to pick it out. And then I was like, I really like that song. And Nathan's like, that's by Dua Lipa, right? And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. Anyway, so it's a fun dance song, but like also a cute song, like a love song. And then we, like I said, went into our first dance. Our first dance felt so magical. I don't think any photo or video of it can really capture how we felt during that first dance. Like, it just felt like we were the only two people in the world, and my feet were soaking wet because we had been outside in the rain. And so I was a little like careful with how I was moving around so I didn't slip. But it was just like the most wonderful feeling to be dancing with my husband at our wedding. And like we had these bistro lights up that the venue threw in for free because the wedding the night before decided to put them up, and like the people who were putting them up were like, can we just come back on Sunday and take these down? So the venue threw them in for free. So it was like, just like in the background, just seeing all these little like cute lights, kind of like stars. And yeah, I don't think the photo or video can ever capture how we felt in that moment. But it was just, I don't know how to describe it other than it just being this magical feeling. And I know that's corny, but honestly, I think our first dance was, besides the really emotional ceremony, where I was just kind of like lost in that moment. Like, besides the ceremony, the first dance was definitely my favorite moment of the day. And I was really nervous about doing our first dance because, like, we picked like a 4-minute song and we danced for the whole song. I know some people cut the song shorter or recommend doing that, but we had a whole thing planned. And I think it turned out really well, and it just felt so good. So I'm trying to hold on to those feelings because there's just some things you're never going to capture in photo or video. And I'm trying to live in those feelings and really like commit those feelings to memory. So that was really sweet. I loved that. And then dinner was served. The highlight of dinner was definitely when my siblings' tables were released to the buffet line, and we had gold chargers on the table, and they picked up those chargers and went to the buffet line with them. And I had to be like, stop, those don't go to the buffet line. And they're like, what? It was really funny. And then after dinner, we had the toasts from the maid of honor and the best man. And the toasts were so great. Like, they nailed it. Both Henry and Anna Claire, my sister and my husband's friend, they had, they were slightly roasting us in them, but then also complimenting us and then saying really nice things about our relationship. And, Anna Claire obviously has known Nathan and I for our whole relationship because she's my sister. She started her speech by talking about how the first time I met Jessica, and I was like, oh God, was on her birthday in 1999. So the day she was born. And I'm like, you're hilarious. And then Henry's only known us for, he's known us for like 7 years at this point because he and Nathan met in grad school, and I swear they're like brothers from another mother. They're so much alike. So he kind of acknowledged that in his speech. He's like, you guys have been exhibiting like what love's supposed to look like. I'm paraphrasing, since longer than I've known you. He's so sweet. So they both knocked it out of the park with their speeches. I've heard some toasts that were like kind of not, I'm not trying to be mean, but like a lot of people resort to saying like, there's just not words to say what I need to say. And I'm like, sorry. So I'm glad nobody said that at our wedding. I'm like, just get to the point. And then I had my father-daughter dance. So my dad suggested a couple different songs for the father-daughter dance, but what we ended up going with was Unforgettable by Nat King Cole. I had requested the duet version with his daughter, Natalie Cole, but for some reason the DJ just played the regular version, which was okay. My dad spun me around like a ton, so we got some great photos, even though in the moment I was like, oh my God, I'm so dizzy. So yeah, that was really sweet. My dad towards the end is like, you changed my life, because I'm his first kid. And I'm like, you're so sweet. And then, of course, Nathan had his mother-son dance. His mom wanted to dance to Tangerine by Led Zeppelin, if you want to know what my mother-in-law's like. And then he also had a brother-sister dance with his sister. He just has one sister, and she's 15, 16 years older than him. So they danced to Me and Baby Brother by War, which is a real groovy song. It was a lot of fun. So that was the last special dance. And then we cut our wedding cake, which nobody tells you how awkward that is. Like, is that awkward for anybody else? I thought the cake cutting was super awkward. At this point, I was just like, dinner's over, the speeches are done, the spotlight dances are done. I just want to party at this point. And the DJ decided to play Severed by the Decemberists, which I love that song, but the lyrics are not something I would play at a wedding, but it is a groovy song, not gonna lie. So we cut the cake, did that. Really, it's a photo op more than anything. I learned the hard way. It was just kind of awkward for me. And then it was time to party. So at this point, my siblings, we had 2 tables for my siblings because that's how many siblings I have. And they all, except for one, brought a date. So I had a lot of people, just sibling related. And I'm sitting at my sweetheart table. I look over at them and they're just like vibrating. Like they're, how like a dog when you're going to throw a ball, like it's just like revving up. That's what my siblings looked like. And so when the DJ finally announced that the dance floor was open, they exploded out of their seats and they were just so amped to dance. And that made my night. That was amazing. I loved that. So we partied until 9:30. But they were a great dance crew. It's not always easy being the oldest of 9 children, but then you get to your wedding and your siblings are so much more fun than you are, because I'm kind of a wallflower. And it was just so fun to see them having fun, especially after the pandemic years. And then we also had a photo booth. So at some point when I didn't feel like dancing so much, I did photo booth photos with my husband, as well as my bridesmaid Taylor, and I think with my brother too. And we got copies of every single photo booth photo, as a printout, and we got the digital gallery too. It was just fun to see people, what they wanted to do in the photo booth and who they wanted to take photos with. So that was really cute. I'm glad we kept that in our package because we could have taken it out and saved a little bit of money. But I kind of saw it as our wedding favor because we didn't have wedding favors otherwise. So I liked that we kept that, and we did some photos with our cat cutout too. Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention, we had a cardboard cutout of our cat that lived on the welcome table. And then during the photo booth session, I grabbed it and brought it into our photos. And the photo booth attendant was funny. He was like, oh my God, in this photo, it looks like the cat's actually real. It doesn't look like a cutout. I'm like, that's so funny. And then we said our goodbyes after, we had a last dance. I forgot to mention that. We had a last dance. So everyone who was left, I wanted them to hang out for our last dance and dance with us. So I chose Faithfully by Journey. That's a song I used to listen to a lot when my husband and I were long distance for 4 years, and it makes me cry every time because it's just a song about being apart, but then coming back together. And of course, from that song, it's more of the perspective of musicians touring, but it made a lot of sense for us. So that was our last dance. We started out with all of the couples. And then I think my youngest sister and my bridesmaid Taylor were dancing together because they didn't bring dates. So it started off with all the couples. And then my sister, the maid of honor, Anna Claire, she orchestrated everyone getting in a line behind us as we kept dancing, and they were just swaying back and forth. And I need to get the photos from my sister-in-law because I saw her taking photos. I'm like, Tony, I need those photos. Because at that point we had our photographer leave half an hour into the dance floor. So yeah, that was the wedding day. We said our goodbyes at the end of the night because all of my family was going to leave pretty early on Sunday. But then a lot of our friends wanted to still hang out. So we went back to chill at the hotel, and I used like a laughing, crying emoji. Not emoji, Munchkin from Once More with Love to mark that, because it was the best man and his girlfriend. So my husband's friends from grad school. And then Taylor came back to our hotel room too. And then Nathan's old roommate from grad school, Alec, came by. And then his friend from childhood, Alex, also came by because she was staying at the same hotel. A lot of people came and stayed at our hotel because even though they lived like in the general region, like it was just a rainy, terrible travel day. So they opted to get hotel rooms. But yeah, it was just funny because Alec has known us like the least amount of time, even though, again, he's known us for like 7 years. But he was asking Taylor and Alex, who have known us a lot longer, like, how are these two? You know, have they changed over time? And Alex was like, I mean, Nathan has gotten less like spastic over time, which is true, even in the time that I've known him. I like that he's kind of spazzy, but because it's fun. He's got a fun energy, obviously. I love that. But he's definitely calmed down a little bit over time. And then Taylor's known me since I was 3. And she's like, no, Jessica's pretty much the same. Like, I just remember her sitting at like my birthday party kind of quietly, just doing arts and crafts. So that's funny. I'm the same. My husband's a little bit different over time. But I thought that was so cute that Alec was asking that in the first place. Like, how have these two changed over time? So that was really funny. So everyone hung out. We were like drinking whiskey that Henry had bought and eating like the cheese and the crackers and the grapes that we had all brought for our wedding party for earlier in the day. We were still hungry at that point. So that was fun to just chill in our hotel room. We had a suite, so we were hanging out in like the living room area, and then our bedroom area was like on the other half of the bathroom. So I'm glad we had like a suite so that we could hang out without like everyone sitting on our bed. So I think we all hung out until like 12:30 or something. And the best man's girlfriend, like at some point was helping me like undo all my hair. She was like taking out my hair clip and like just very gingerly trying to do it. I had a lot of bobby pins in my head, obviously. So that was really funny to have her help me with that. And yeah, then I think we stayed up to like 1 or 1:30 because our venue had posted a bunch of stuff to their Instagram story. So I was watching that and screen recording that so I could have that forever. And then we went to sleep because it was a long day. Sunday, I marked that it was 1 year since my husband proposed to me. So we were engaged for 364 days? Exactly. So yeah, it was 1 year since the proposal. I did the payments for my photographer and hair and makeup because they were nice and let me do it after the day. And then we relaxed in our hotel room for a while. We asked for a little bit of a later checkout, so we were able to check out at noon. We did have to stop by our venue at some point because there was a box of decorations that we forgot the night before. And then we drove home, and it was over. But we were leaving for our honeymoon the next day. So, at least there was that. We were reunited with our cat, who was very upset with us because it was pouring rain. She's scared of the rain. And then our neighbor takes care of her while we're gone. We're really lucky to have a neighbor who will do that for us. But our cat still is like, no, I don't trust this lady, even though our neighbor loves her because she's soft and pretty and a very cute cat. But our cat does not appreciate that. So anyway, we were reunited. We decided to get coffees from the local coffee shop because we were very tired. And then I had to check in for our honeymoon flight the next day, and we had to pack for our honeymoon. So we did that. I already had like all my outfits picked out and all my bathing suits picked out and everything. It was just a matter of like swapping out all of my wedding outfits for the honeymoon outfits. So did that, packed for that. And then I was just reveling in all of the Instagram photos and other photos and videos people were sharing with us this evening or this day. We did not have an unplugged ceremony. It didn't really matter to me. So I got a good number of photos and videos from people's iPhones from the ceremony and the reception. So that was nice. I personally didn't mind if people were taking photos with their phone and if that shows up in the professional photos. I'm going to be real, like, people are not props. Like, they don't do exactly what you want them to do in a candid photo anyway. So even the people who weren't on their phones, like, there were a few who, like, they're not necessarily staring adoringly at you anyway. They're looking in your general direction, but like, it's not it's not a perfect like Instagram moment anyway. So I didn't mind people being on their phones to take photos because it meant that I got some different angles of the ceremony and the reception as well. So that is wedding week. That's everything that happened. I think I talked about everything. It was just a really fun day, especially once we got to the dance floor. We also, one last thing. So we had the cat cut out. We had the drinks named after our cat, and Nathan did a little drawing of my cat with a martini glass that was so cute. Of our cat, I should say. So that was a sign that lived on the bar. And then we also had our cat incorporated into our cake topper. So Nathan 3D printed that. It was like a silhouette of us as a couple, and then the cat kind of like pawing at my wedding dress. It was so cute. So we had lots of different tributes to our cat because obviously she could not attend our wedding. So, I had a bouquet charm with my cat's photo on it too. So that was another way that I incorporated her into my day. But yes, again, that was wedding week. I hope you enjoyed hearing about it. There's lots of little gold foil bits here and there that I love, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. I love all of the extenders, and it was just a really great weekend, even though things didn't go exactly the way that I planned. But I hope you enjoyed hearing about it. If you have any questions for me, leave them down below. If you want to see some photos, you can check out the wedding highlight on my Instagram. And I will talk to you next week when we go to Hawaii for our honeymoon. All right, bye.